seconds. There we go. Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. This is the EV portion, and I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning. Welcome, everybody.
What we have behind us here is something that Jesse came up with today. Do you want to describe it, Jesse, or want me to take a stab at it? Go for it. All right. What we have here is one of the largest solar farms that is under construction, and I have some data here somewhere that tells us when and how soon. And I probably should have had that prepared before I went into launching, but it is an AI-generated image. And what was requested in the prompt was a large solar farm on some Indian land. And as you can see, AI stereotyped and put some teepees with some horses in the foreground.
Yes, on what would have been a traditional white man's farm, which I thought the juxtaposition was kind of interesting. But I believe it's the Ute Indians, or the Indian tribe in southwestern Colorado that's putting together this farm.
I have the data here. It's going to be built. It's called the Sun Bear Solar Project, and it will be one of the U.S.'s largest solar farms in southeastern Colorado, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
There will be up to 971 megawatts that will be generated, and it will sit on 4,000 acres of the Ute Mountain tribal land, 9 miles south of the tribe's capital, which is Towawak. Did I pronounce that right? Towawak. Oh, anyway.
One of the two.
Too many vowels in there for me to feel comfortable. It is in southwestern Colorado, not southeastern. So this installation is going to be 8 miles long and 1 mile wide, and will feature 2.2 million solar panels. It's also expected to create 1,000 construction jobs. But then what amazed me was, after it's all built and up and running, only 10 to 50 full-time jobs. And the revenue portion of it goes to the tribe.
I think that's a great idea, actually. And it's going to be, we have a comment on TikTok from Chaz for You saying there's no way to transport the electricity. Actually, they're going to connect to the Western Area Power Administration power line, which is one of the large power grids up in that area of the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of our customers too, by the way. Western Area Power, been that way for many years. What they say here is that the tribal officials are working with global renewable energy developer Canagoo Group to plan the Sun Bear Solar Farm, which will cost more than $1 billion. And the Bureau of Indian Affairs is currently reviewing the project's environmental impact, or making an assessment. Construction is expected to kick off later this year, 2024, and Sun Bear is scheduled to come online by 2026.
What people might not know in general that we know in Arizona is that there was a large power plant up in that same Four Corners area in Page, Arizona, that's due to go offline just a little bit before that. And it's one of the larger coal-powered plants in the nation, and I think it was the largest coal-powered plant in Arizona.
Can we say good riddance?
I think we can, actually.
We should, yes.
So there is a very definite possibility that there will be a market for this solar power because of the coal plant going offline.
Sure. I may be misquoting here, but I think it was Elon, or one of the real, visible promoters of clean energy, was saying that if you took a piece of land like the state of Wyoming, where there's virtually nothing there, right? I probably shouldn't say that, and made it a solar farm, it would have enough electricity for the entire country.
Yes. And when I was reading some background information on this too, one of the commenters, I thought it was an interesting comment. They said, look, the solar farms create microclimates. So if you put a solar farm into a sunny, warm weather area, and if you were to simply lift the panels up, because right now they tend to go from ground level to about 6 feet high,
right?
Lift them so that they go from maybe 4 to 8 feet, there's a tremendous amount of plant growth, wildlife environmental goodness, basically.
It creates an ecosystem.
Yeah,
is
it
what
creates
you're
its
saying.
own ecosystem, and it would all be based on those being a little bit higher. Now, that obviously they would be a little bit harder to maintain since they'd be elevated. But I thought that was an intriguing comment because that's what some of the environmentalists are talking about, is that we're destroying the habitat and ecosystem in the area. And this is actually saying, no, they wouldn't destroy it. They would actually enhance it.
Sure. This is reminiscent of the plans to take the Central Arizona Project Canal, for example, which is a lifeline to Arizona because it diverts Colorado River water to allow all of this irrigation and, growing, the 4 growing seasons that we have here. The plan is to actually cover that in solar panels, and there are a couple of compelling reasons to do that. The loss of water through evaporation is substantial.
Yes.
Because it's exposed to the sun, obviously. And the fact that the canal, all 300 miles or more, already have an electrical power grid for the locks, the pumps, and all of the hardware that's on those locks. The solar system can tap directly into an existing power grid, prevents the evaporation, and generates electricity in the meantime, not just for the canal maintenance, but for the outlying areas next to the canal or that it runs through.
In our last election, one of the Arizona Corporation Commissioners that was ran on that platform.
Really?
I thought it was fascinating. I'd never really heard it before. He said water evaporation is about 45 to 55% of the total volume of water that comes from the Colorado River.
Amazing.
We could solve our water problems in Arizona by covering them with solar panels.
There's a third benefit to that too. Again, some synergy there. Solar panels notoriously will begin to decline in their output based on the amount of surface dust or debris that's on the panels. With a canal-mounted system like this, you just simply put a pump down into the canal, and periodically with timers, it flushes the panels for you.
Sure, and the water would drop off the panels back into the canal,
right?
And you would still be saving water. You would have an overabundance almost of electricity. You would have so much electricity available, it'd be crazy, and it would be good for all involved.
Got some good questions coming in. TikTok, Chaz, for you says lifespan of the solar panels. Now, there's a good question.
That is a good question. I only know based on the panels that I bought for my residence a couple of years ago, those panels have a 25-year warranty, which means they're guaranteed to last at least 25 years. Desert panels like this can be manufactured with a lifespan of up to 30 to 40 years.
Yeah, the warranties usually tell you what the expected lifespan is. Instagram, Ashir bin Uzman 786 says, I attended an interview at Tesla. Well, interesting. For those of you unaware, we get asked a lot of questions since we're in the EV service space, Gruber Motor Company. How do I break into electric vehicle service, maintenance? And our suggestion is there aren't a lot of schools yet that are really specializing in this. Right. And a great way to get immersed in this field is to go to work for one of the OEMs and bring a solid work ethic, show up every day, and a thirst and a desire to learn. And you will move very quickly because there's such a shortage of talented people in this field.
That's right. That's right. And we had an Instagram user, right now they're off the screen, mentioning that all they could see was a green screen. I wanted to mention that real quick. For Instagram, that is the case right now. Fraser Main had said, we just see the green screen. That's because Instagram right now is running on a different platform than all of the rest of our technology, of our channels. And the Instagram platform, unfortunately, does not show the images that we can show on the other channels. If you wish to view the full experience, go to our YouTube channel, Gruber Motors. You can look it up, and you could look for the Gruber Morning Show, and you'd be able to see us with all of the images and stuff in the background as well.
And an amazing solar farm behind us, a $1 billion project. Stuart King from YouTube, he says, good afternoon from the United Kingdom. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, as always, let us know where you're coming in from. We are always pleased and tickled that the whole globe seems to be able to tune into things like this.
Yes. Yes, most definitely.
All right, looks like we have a video. Is it? Are we able to bring up that EV disconnect video or EV eject video? Not sure, Jesse. Okay, all right. As soon as he brings that up, what we're going to show you is this is a product that's the rave right now, and it's called EV Eject. It's an adapter that you can put on a NACS charger, and before plugging in, and what it provides is a disconnect feature that is not readily available on the cars normally, and this is primarily for safety and security. One of the things they show on their website is a sketchy-looking character at night coming up to a car that's being charged with the owner in the car.
Yes.
And normally, you would have to get out of your car, disconnect the NACS cable before you could leave that site. With this product, you're actually able to drive away.
It's an interesting, intriguing product. I read just a little bit about it. They say that they worked with Tesla. They have the technology to basically disable the charge as soon as you put your car in drive, and your car would be capable of being put into drive. And then you have the ability to simply drive away. The charger itself has a breakaway feature. So one end, as you see in the car there, it stays in the car until you get to a safe place and where you can then pull it out by hand. The other end serves as basically protection for the other end of the charger that's been broken away from the Tesla supercharger, so it doesn't damage that end by just falling onto the ground.
Okay. Cost of this is $299 on their website, and one of the things that came to light was, well, what if you have to exercise this option and you drive away? You then have to replace it unless you want to go back at some point in time to retrieve it. Well, I think you were telling me that they have a generous policy regarding that.
They do have. They say if you can show them film of you having to drive away from a supercharger, that they will replace your unit one time.
Okay.
Their idea is that they want people to be able to feel comfortable and safe in a supercharging environment, and if you get into danger, can show that you had to drive away because you were in danger, they'll give you one.
Instagram, Fraser Main says, thanks for telling them about your YouTube channel. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, our YouTube channel, by the way, there are videos being posted almost every day these days, and it's Gruber Motors. We have just shy of 210,000 subscribers now, which is growing rapidly because of good content being posted.
Yes.
The most popular ones most recently are the Who Is a series of videos where we take somebody that is a mover and shaker, someone notable in the EV space, or not sometimes, and we do a brief bio on what their life is about, how they got to where they are, and all that. The ones that are in the works right now is you'll see a Tucker Carlson bio that will be posted this afternoon, I believe. He's in the news and not an EV advocate necessarily, but certainly somebody that people might be curious about.
Sure.
Elon Musk is next, and he, of course, is in the EV space. We hope so, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and we've seen, like for RJ Scaringe, I believe that's one that I saw recently. A good video out there. And RJ Scaringe came back to us. We sent him the script, and he actually made edits and came back to us with it. So I would consider that to be an authorized short bio of him.
Well, certainly Martin Eberhardt was another one. Yeah, he reviewed it, and so we're getting good cooperation. But yeah, those of you interested, Gruber Motors, if you'd like to learn more about what's going on in the world of EV and the people behind it, that's what that Who Is series is about.
Yeah, great series. On YouTube, Randolph Schnack has a good question for us. He says, I know it's not necessarily your area of expertise, but why has the phantom braking been so hard to fix? It's better than it was 3 years ago, but it still occurs.
That is a mystery, and I wish I could speak intelligently. There, in the world of software and electronics, there are mysterious things at times. They call them glitches, they call them bugs. You're a software guy. What are some other euphemisms for those annoying problems?
Well, bugs is probably
Bugs.
the big one that,
Yeah.
that we use that, and I empathize and sympathize with you, Randolph, because the car that I have will sometimes do the phantom braking. There's one area of freeway that I drive on regularly
Uh-huh.
that it's something to do with the shadows and the fact that the Tesla is using cameras rather than radar now or something. And it'll just slam on the brakes
Oh.
as I'm coming up to a couple of different bridge crossings. For some reason, I think it's the different lighting on the pavement that confuses it and makes
Right.
it think that it's about to run into something. That's just my own hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
To get around it, I'll set my cruise control to a fairly low level, and then I'll go ahead and keep my foot on the gas. That way I don't have that variation, or the accelerator pedal. I don't get the variation in speed it'll keep me from going too slow. And then when it would otherwise brake, well, my foot is just resting on that accelerator. And I've actually had messages come up that says, well, I want to brake, but you're pressing on the accelerator, so I can't.
Sure. Well, I'm fairly optimistic that these types of problems will be resolved, and one of the reasons is we've moved away from hardline code to actually create these kinds of capabilities, like full self-driving.
It's a neural
for example.
network on the self-driving, for example.
Right. And with, of course, now looking at real life situations, it's not inconceivable that once you have that level of AI in your car, you can say, this is a spot that normally fails, fix this. And it may also be, since it's AI, a fix for all the other vehicles. So I expect this to get better.
I do too. I would think that if nothing else, the AI is going to see people who are in that top 10% of drivers hit their accelerator pedal at a certain point on a road, and the AI is then going to take a look at what's going on the camera on that road, and will eventually realize, hey, this is just some sort of trick of lighting or something like that. There's actually nothing here.
And make adjustments.
And then it will make adjustments. Yep.
All right. YouTube, Yosef Yazbek is saying, good morning from Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us from California.
Good morning, Joseph.
Yeah.
Hope you're able to get dried out again.
We have, I thought I had another image to throw up here. It was the KW image, and I don't have it up here. So let me just go through it then verbally. The confusion about KW and KWH. And I've been the victim of that myself. I remember we did a video a couple of years ago, and boy, I got skewered because in our world, we shorten it, we abbreviate. It's a 85 kW battery, and we know what's going on. But anyway,
yes,
the critical difference between KW, for example, it is a rate that something uses electricity. And the best example of that might be you've got a 2,000 watt hot water heater in your home, and that specification is what that hot water heater will consume, 2,000 watts, while it's trying to heat your water. And it will do that for as long as your thermostat decides that it's important to continue to supply power. However, kWh, which is kilowatt hour, is the amount of electricity used or capacity to used.
And we have an image now. I just put it back onto the images file. Jesse, if you could bring up the KW image.
So the meter in your home that records electricity operates in kWh because it's trying to figure out how many kilowatts per hour you're using, what your cumulative totals are, and that's how you get billed.
Right. But the rate at which you use power is the number of kilowatts that you're pulling across the line. It's almost like kilowatt hours is a lake and kilowatts is a river.
Mm-hmm.
where kilowatt hours is the lake is just sitting there, and the kilowatts is the current in the river that you're using.
Good analogy. All right.
We've there are a couple things that I wanted to bring up as well on here. We were talking about this last week. The world's newest, largest supercharger is being built. Tesla is going to continue aggressively expanding its supercharger network. This one's being focused on the Interstate 5 network in Southern California. In fact, Jesse, if you could bring up the image, world's largest supercharger plan. This particular supercharger is also giving us a picture of what the future of superchargers may be like. Now, this particular supercharger, these plans are being built in Kern County, California, near Interstate 5 and Highway 46. This location is in South Central California. It's just north of Bakersfield, and there's going to be 164 charging stations in total there.
Wow.
This also has its own microgrid. So this charging area is going to have solar across all of the covered stations. All of the pull-in stalls will have solar on them.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be Tesla Megapack batteries to help store the solar charge as well.
So you get shade, covered parking.
Yep.
And it has a dual purpose.
And it has a dual purpose. Now, if you notice, look up there on the right side near the top. And it's highlighted in green. It says supercharger post. Those are pull-through stalls. And I found that was a particularly interesting. There are 16 of these pull-through stations put far enough apart from one another that a vehicle towing a trailer or another oversized vehicle, such as a Tesla Semi without a trailer, would be able to park in one of those stalls and charge.
Fascinating. Yeah, that is the future.
And I think that is going to be the future of supercharging. So now, as you get your non-Tesla vehicles like a Rivian or other vehicles that don't have charge ports in the same types of locations that your Teslas have, which is typically driver's side, rear, those vehicles will be able to pull up into that pull-through charging station as well and charge wherever their charge port might be.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously with Cybertrucks and Rivians and other vehicles that are capable of towing trailers, they'll have access to chargers with towing as well.
Does the article say anything what the section called future development area? Is that just expansion for the chargers?
It does not say anything about what was going on in the future development area. The possibility is not so much the expansion of chargers as it is probably some sort of convenience store or other infrastructure, because this is actually kind of a poorly developed area. It's one of the few areas I've seen where there is no, Carl's Jr. or ice cream shop or something like that right there. This is truly an undeveloped area. So I think that's what they're planning in the future development area. Interesting note too, I thought, is that this charging station is only something along the lines of tens of miles away from the Kettleman City Supercharger in California. And that is another large charging station along Interstate 5. And it was at itself not too long ago billed as the world's largest supercharger.
So we're breaking records. Okay.
So continually breaking records here. It's Tesla realizing that they have a lot of their cars in California and need to have extra capacity for people to be able to charge.
Sure. Well, you've noticed Phoenix. I mean, it's rare to get to an intersection and not see a Tesla.
I have noticed that. I have also noticed the number of superchargers that are here in the Phoenix area. It wasn't 2 years ago, you had the North Phoenix Supercharger, the Scottsdale Galleria Supercharger, and then one in Buckeye. Mm-hmm. And now there's Gilbert, and there's up toward Anthem, there's
Biltmore.
A supercharger. There's a Biltmore supercharger.
They just opened to Tempe and to Chandler.
Yeah,
Tempe
there's
Chandler,
a Tempe Chandler one. There's over by Glendale, over by the Cardinal Stadium. There's a large supercharger there just along the freeway. So there's all kinds of superchargers here around town. It's building up as well, and I'm excited to see that. I'm glad to see it.
You know, I didn't bring the information, probably should have, but the diner that's being built in California with the movie theater,
Yes,
all of
yes.
that. Yeah, the construction is proceeding quite nicely. It looks like the second or even third story, if there is one, is in place now. And so I can't remember when opening was, but I think it was this year at some point.
That one's fascinating.
I'll see what I can find.
See what you can find.
It'll be the future of gas stations, as we used to call them, with even more infrastructure, not just fast food, but high quality entertainment.
I'm going to be over in that area in mid-June. If it's open, I might drag my family up there just to go see what it's like.
Get some pictures of it, sure.
Yeah,
under construction. Instagram, FNE Mobile says, hi, Tesla fans, and he's waving. Thank you. Yes, thanks for joining us. Interesting. So more superchargers. Okay. It looks like Tesla made an enticing overnight change to its online configurator, they say, and it could result in a surge of orders. This is an electric article.
Mm-hmm.
And they say if you're in Canada and considering buying a Tesla, things just got interesting. They say Electric reported that an overnight update of the brand's online vehicle configurator resulted in significant reductions in the price of the Model Y. Base trim for the Model Y rear-wheel drive and Model Y all-wheel drive had thousands knocked off the purchase price, with the former available at $53,990 Canadian dollars, and the latter listed at $63,990. I don't know what the exchange rate is these days. Is it pretty substantial again?
It's pretty substantial again. I was just pulling that up because I was thinking about it. So 53,990 Canadian dollars. That's 39,927 US dollars as of today. So getting a brand new Model Y, less than 40,000. And of course, that would, if we were a U.S. citizen, it wouldn't include the Canadian incentives. What kind of incentives do they have?
Well, before we go there, my wow was actually dual purpose. It was not only the price, but also the exchange rate difference.
Yeah.
What happened here,
Yeah.
Anyway, they say, what's more, the reduction of the all-wheel drive made it eligible for a $12,000 rebate. That's probably Canadian dollars. That's
yes, it is
pretty substantial. If bought in Quebec, only vehicles valued below $65,000 can garner the provincial rebate. So it looks like in Canada you have a bunch of provinces and they vary. And they explain that. They say Canada offers a $5,000 rebate for EVs, but different provinces offer various incentives too, and some can be stacked.
Yeah. Well, and here in the United States, if you buy a new electric vehicle, you get, and it's less than a certain dollar amount, which this Model Y would fall under, you would only pay, you get a $7,500 US rebate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, okay, I've got a $40,000 brand new Model Y. Can I buy it in Canada, bring it into the United States, and get my $7,500 US rebate since I'm a US citizen?
In other words, stacking from two different countries.
Ooh, yeah, then we could stack. If we could get it from Canada and the U.S., that'd be even better.
We're not trying to give investment advice here or strategies as to how to reduce the cost of your EV, but...
You guys got a video for you.
All right, cool.
The last time we talked about this, it's called Millways. Remember, it was the Millways. It had a bunch of Easter eggs in it.
Yes.
Millways is from... Hitchhiker's Guide, I think, right?
Yes.
To the universe, yeah.
Yes, Milliways, yes.
Okay, so here is the video. Now, there is no release date for when this place is going to open, but people are taking drone footage of it. It's actually under construction now. So this is the Milliways that's going to have 2 screens, 30 chargers, and this is from 5 days ago, this footage.
Uh-huh.
So it's possible it could open this year. It looks like it's coming along pretty well, but there's no actual opening date.
There we go. We're starting to see what the artist's rendition is of some completion there. Yeah, the pictures that we saw, the actual architectural renderings of the future site were pretty darn impressive. I mean, we had two movie screens, if I recall. One was against
I'm
one of
gonna
the perimeters.
stop that. I don't want to use all that footage. We might get in trouble with that, but
Yeah,
it's coming
Sure.
along nicely.
That is coming along very nicely. And like you said, Pete, that looks like a 3-story restaurant where you have 2 stories inside and a balcony and 3rd story as well.
hmm
So very interesting. On Instagram, Thomas, I'm going with zeros for O's, has joined us this morning. He says, "Greetings from Austria."
No kangaroos.
That's right.
You have Alps. Yeah, we don't. We don't have kangaroos.
Yeah,
there.
he says, "I'm a watcher from the beginning and love your channel. Question: do you think Tesla will replace all of their V2 superchargers with either V3 or V4? And then second, why do you think Tesla has still not reintroduced radar for the Model 3?
The
Ooh,
first
good
question
questions.
is just, it's an evolution of technology, and I can't imagine that they wouldn't because, people getting used to the faster charging rates aren't going to feel comfortable with the old charging rates.
Right.
And the technology essentially isn't that complicated to upgrade. What we have is an electrical power drop. And if anything, it may have to be increased, but the infrastructure is already there, the underground. It'll just have to be larger wire sizes, for example. So that, I think, is an absolute yes. The question as to why do we think Tesla has not reintroduced radar for the Model 3? I wish I could be a fly in the boardrooms or in the design rooms of questions like this, because I'm sure that there is a layer of complexity here and also liability that weighs in on decisions like this.
Yeah, it's not just the Model 3 that hasn't reintroduced radar. We have Model S's that have the radar in as well as cameras, and they have generally moved from using their radar to using cameras for their autopilot. And I don't have a good answer as to why there isn't a blend of both.
Yeah. And, it could be legal issues. It could be liability. Risk management has come in and said, nope, this is not a good idea, or we're going to weigh in favor of not using it. Or it could be that Tesla, being as advanced as they are, have a better product that they're going to release.
It's possible. And it's, since we're speculating here, it's also possible that the radar and the visual could be presenting information that is contradictory enough to the AI that it adds a layer of complexity that the AI doesn't need as long as it has visual.
Yeah. These are the kinds of questions that will never really get answered by the OEMs, but they're certainly fun to entertain.
Yes, it sure is.
By the way, Thomas, there is a Tesla takeover May 25th in Austria, outside of Salzburg, Flachau, actually. And I'm going to be in Rosenheim a week before then, visiting my brother's family. So we plan on we will be there. We will attend that Tesla takeover in Flachau. So would look forward to meeting you if you're there.
Oh, that would be great. Cyber Beast on TikTok has joined us again. He has an update for us. Now, Cyber Beast has a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Is I did 850 miles in my Cybertruck from Central Valley to Los Angeles through Grapevine and back. Averaged 430 watts per mile with a total of 365 kilowatt hours. Is this good?
I don't know. What do you think?
Personally, I'm thinking 430 watts per mile for something as large and heavy as a Cybertruck is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I remember taking, in fact, I think it was the Tesla that you had for a while, the 90D Ludicrous Tesla, dual motor and the Ludicrous mode and everything, and it had the 21-inch wheels, and that was a Model S that tended to use about 375 watts per mile. And I thought, wow, that's a little bit more than what I'm used to. Learned later that the 19-inch wheels cause a little bit better mileage. It just has to deal with the physics of how everything worked. Cybertruck with their larger wheels, larger tires, heavier weight, 430 watts per mile. I don't think that's too bad personally.
You know, something else to factor in here is it's how aerodynamic it is. It may actually be an improvement based on that wedge-shaped design.
I have heard of the Ford Lightning not loaded taking upwards of 600 watts per mile, and loaded a Ford Lightning taking as much as 1 to 1.2 kilowatts per mile. So when you have a 112 kilowatt battery that they say would get 240 miles of range, once you add a trailer onto the back of it, that that 240 miles of range goes down to about 120 miles.
Yeah. Well, thanks for reporting, Cyber Beast.
Thank you. As we're talking about the idea of the Model Y dropping in price, I came across something this week that might explain some of the reason why Tesla is able to continue dropping prices. And this came off of my MSN newsfeed, and it has to deal with the boom and now bust cycle of these rare, and I'm going to call them air quotes rare metals, the lithium, the nickel, and stuff like that. Last year, you and I reported on Albemarle's announcement that they were going to create a $1.3 billion investment in lithium processing in South Carolina. At the time, lithium prices were sky high. They had come off of their maximum peak of about $89,000 per metric ton, which is $89 per kilo, and had come down to 65,000 or so per metric ton. And we were like, yeah, they're down 25%. It's going to make cars more affordable. Well, that's turned into a classic boom and bust cycle. Lithium is down almost 90% now from those highs.
Amazing, huh?
It is. And the Albemarle's plant is on hold. In Australia, the largest nickel producing mine in the world that produces 6% of the world's nickel capacity, is actually being mothballed, and it's looking to be sold by its main investor. Because nickel, like lithium, is down, although not as severely. Lithium has gone down from $88,000 per metric ton to below $10,000 per metric ton as of February of 2024. Nickel has gone down by about half. And so I took a little bit of time outside of this Wall Street Journal article to try to understand what exactly is going on here. Because the article just says, yeah, here's what's going on. And it doesn't put any context with it. And I found that there are two main drivers behind this. And it's the same old economics 101. On the supply side, we have more supply. On the demand side, demand is not as high as expected. So for supply side, in 2022, alarm bells were ringing across the U.S. We're going to run out of lithium in 4 years.
I remember that, yeah.
Everybody that could get into mining or who was already in mining was investing big dollars into trying to find lithium so that we didn't run out of batteries and short circuit the EV revolution because we didn't have raw materials. The thing is, they found it. There has been enough in lithium discoveries between South Carolina, Louisiana, the Salton Sea, and Nevada as four of the largest, but not the only ones, to turn the United States from one of the largest lithium consumers in the world to having the potential to be one of the largest lithium producers and exporters in the world. And all that happened within about 13 months.
Amazing. And of course, a massive reduction in costs. If the EVs are built here, you have shortened the supply chain dramatically from, buying lithium in Bolivia, for example, and then ocean transport and all the rest of it.
All of that goes away.
Yeah.
In fact, if you remember the lithium in Nevada that is going to start to be mined, the ore coming out of the ground is so high grade that it is actually not considered raw ore.
Really?
The first pass processing that goes on with most ores to get lithium up to a certain percentage of the ore amount, this ore is already past that. So it's considered second stage ore, and it's just sitting there in the ground.
Amazing.
The other thing is it's not drop in demand, it's just not demand growth. The demand growth was expected to grow somewhere around 50 to 60% annually for the next 5 years. And that growth has tapered off, especially in China, where growth has actually gone flat over the last 3 months with China's economic issues and their deflation and all the things that are going on there. It's killed the Chinese EV market. People are waiting to buy cars because the typical cycle of deflation is starting to take hold, which says, why would I pay you $20 for something today if tomorrow I can get that for $19 from you, brand new?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just not going to buy. In addition to the Chinese demand destruction, there has been less growth in demand across the world than has been forecasted. So you have less demand than forecasted, way more supply than forecasted, and it's caused the crash in the metal prices. But the good thing is it's also caused things like Tesla once again dropping the prices of its Model Ys in Canada to the point that they're eligible for these very lucrative rebates.
Mm-hmm. Amazing changes occurring rapidly, too, it looks like.
It is. And I think that's going to bode well for the EV industry. We've talked a lot about how electric vehicles, once they get to a certain price point, we're thinking that price point is somewhere around $25,000 US, that the EV revolution will really start to take off again. And batteries are the largest single cost in a car. They're about 25% of the car's raw material cost, or they were at one point in time. That cost is coming down enough that EVs are going to be able to be competitive, not based on having to be restricted on their batteries.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you have the other ingredient or factor, which is that the battery chemistries continue to improve and evolve.
Yes.
And, lithium may go away completely at some point. We have sodium, we have graphene, we have so many other chemistries that are, the phosphate batteries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the lithium iron phosphate batteries.
Yeah, lithium iron phosphate is a really promising technology. Graphene is amazingly advanced, and its technology and its growth rate is surpassing the energy density growth rate in all other battery technologies. It's too expensive right now, but that might not be the case in 5 years.
I was really waiting for Jesse at this point to pipe up about fusion reactors, but I'm not sure he's following our line of reasoning here.
I'm not sure.
So we've got a Teslarati article here. It's and this headline says, "New Tesla Model 3 Performance Highland stuns with white bucket seats, sport bucket seats even." They say that a recent sighting of partially camouflaged, upgraded Tesla Model 3 Performance has confirmed that the upcoming all-electric sedan would indeed be equipped with dedicated sport seats that are designed for high-intensity driving. All right. Just like Tesla's other seats, the Model 3 Performance Sport seats look stunning in white. This was spotted, by the way, I guess in California and in Santa Monica. And there was only light tint on the window, even though the prototype vehicle was wrapped with a protective or trying to hide all the design elements. But they could see into the car's cabin sufficiently to where they made a prediction about what the seats were going to be. So, yeah, it looks like it's dedicated. What do they say? I'm sorry, I cut off here.
The white seats, I happen to drive a car that has white seats.
Yeah?
And I'm finding over time they're stunning and beautiful, but it's kind of a mixed bag. They also, nothing stains like white.
Yeah. We have an influencer here in town that has been on our podcast definitely once, maybe even twice. But his claim to fame on TikTok, and he has hundreds of thousands of followers, is to bring in a bottle of salsa on with his white seat Model 3, spill it on the seat, and then wipe it up and go, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it completely wipes off his seats. So there must be a variation of white seats that maybe are not organic leather, but that are some sort of a hybrid that don't stain as easily.
Definitely, I'll bet there are, and I'm interested to see. There are some leather conditioners that are out in the marketplace that are remarkable in their ability to preserve leather without discoloring it, and they can add some waterproofing to leather as well. And I'm wondering if he has something like that on his seats as well.
So social media guys, we should probably give him a plug at this point. Who's our TikTok influencer?
The Tesla Flex, Brandon
Flex.
over at Tesla Flex.
Yep. I think you nailed it. Yep. So look up Tesla Flex if you're interested in seeing all of his escapades. And, he's been successful with it. So you'll probably see dozens, if not hundreds, of these different types of experiments attempting to stain the white Tesla seats.
That's a good one. I did not know about him. TikTok Cyber Beast coming back to us. He says, you need to remember grapevine elevation is at 4,000 feet and the average 75 miles an hour. I did not know that grapevine in California was that high.
Yeah, I didn't either. I know that it's Europe is concerned because the grape growing regions are shifting north. Looks like predictions are that the UK will replace France as the premier wine growing regions. Global warming is what they're attributing it to. Yeah. And there's an elevation requirement as well.
That's very interesting too. So I didn't know grapevine is obviously up toward the Central Valley in California and a little bit higher. So that, to me, that makes that 430 watts per mile that Cyberbeast was talking about actually quite a bit more impressive.
Yeah. YouTube Nolver 53 is joining us. Good morning. Thank you for joining us again.
Good morning.
For those of you that are in the EV space, you've probably seen a Marcus Brownlee video bashing Fisker pretty hard. And we thought we would throw that into the conversation here. Essentially, he wanted to review a Fisker Ocean vehicle, asked Fisker to provide him a press vehicle that he could do an analysis with. And they said, well, we're not really ready. We have a software update, a 2.0 or something, and we haven't released that yet. But the vehicle really isn't ready yet for that kind of an in-depth analysis. So Marcus, being impatient, decided to go into a dealership in New Jersey and got them to lend him an Ocean to do his test.
Yes.
And the headline that is now making the news is, it is the worst vehicle I've ever tested. Some of the comments, I wanted to read you one. And this is somebody that was responding to the article that was posted regarding Marcus's video. And he said, I saw the review and kind of agree with him. Those Ocean looks orders of magnitude better than the VinFast, but apparently it's equal to the VinFast as far as being a piece of undercooked garbage.
Boy, that's pretty
words.
harsh. And I don't know how I want to think about this. Almost like Marcus Brown said, he didn't know how he wanted to think about his car review. He called it quirky, he called it unusual, and then he finally just came out and said, but actually, I guess the way to call it is, this is the worst car I've ever reviewed. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but Fisker knew that they had problems.
Right.
And so they did not want the car reviewed because they knew that there were some quirks and strange things going on. At the same time, Fisker is actively delivering these cars to the customer base. And so in his defense, I say, if a car maker is delivering cars to their customer base, those cars should be fair game for a reviewer to come and see. That is simply a way for the world at large, or press, or community, or whoever you want to call it, to help hold the car makers responsible and accountable to produce a quality product.
Mm-hmm. And, if they've already been released and there are a number in the hands of owners, this is probably the harshest critique that I've seen about the Fisker Ocean. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see if other people weigh in. If those of you watching have some information you'd like to share, we'd certainly like to hear from you.
Guys,
Yeah.
we have less than 6 minutes, and we still want to make sure we talk about the environmental stuff for Giga Mexico, is in the title.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, that's a good time to segue to that. See, the governor of Nuevo León, which is where Tesla's Mexico Gigafactory is to be built, has announced that Tesla's Gigafactory groundbreaking has been rescheduled to March of this year. It was supposed to take place by now. They were supposed to be well underway and well on their way. What's happening is that there are some departments in Mexico's government, including electrical permitting, water permitting, and environmental impact, that have requested an extension of the time that they need to issue permits. So basically, these departments get a certain amount of time to review an application, and they're supposed to give out their approvals or denials within that time period. These guys are saying, well, the plant is a lot bigger than we thought it was going to be. There are potentially more impacts than we thought there were going to be. So we don't want to say no, but we're not ready to say yes.
Yeah.
Notably, the government of Nuevo León is already building all the roads and access and infrastructure for the factory in preparation for the factory being constructed and completed. Apparently, it's going to take longer to build all the infrastructure around the factory than it will to build the factory itself. Now, some of the concerns that were mentioned by these government departments, they appear to be similar to concerns that were addressed by the German government about the Giga Berlin factory.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me and to a lot of the commenters on the article, it seems like we've got some environmentalist people that have some power pulling strings here and turning this into a very political process.
Interesting.
Because the governor of Nuevo León is on his own departments to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
And the departments are the ones that seem to be dragging their feet in spite of the governor's insistence that they move forward. And so it's definitely becoming a political football. Mm-hmm. And at what point does Tesla say, you know what, we're just going to expand Giga Texas?
Right.
Okay, 3 minutes, Pete. You're going to do a rant on that?
Well, I was, when Jesse first told me about this, I said, well, Shanghai was up and running in a year. Regulations and red tape, I think the Chinese realize that this is a massive benefit to their country, to their reputation, and to the, to the population in terms of providing these types of high-tech jobs. Germany, of course, everyone expected there to be an enormous amount of red tape, and the environmentalists held sway for a long time. We even did a video, and my fundamental message to the Germans was, look, I'm German. I understand your need for precision, accuracy, and, completely analyzing everything, but I'm going to warn you, Elon's not a patient guy. Look what he did when he pulled out of California and took everything to Texas because California had too many regulations. So it may not bode well for you to not control some of these, preventers to getting the factory up and running. I don't know if they took our advice, but I think it was running like months after that video.
I think it was. I happen to wonder too, how much is BYD factoring into this decision?
Yeah.
See, BYD is in active negotiations with Mexican government to build a large factory there where they can build cars and then import them into the United States from Mexico, bypassing the United States' tariff laws and so on and so forth. And the Chinese culture is one where bribery and greasing the palms of people and stuff like that is not frowned upon nearly as much as it is here in the United States.
Well, I'm glad that you said that. He asked me to go on a rant, and my initial comment to him, you weren't there, was, it looks like they're not greasing enough palms.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, the message there is Tesla, figure out who's doing the palm greasing there, get some new staff involved in that, do better research, and your plant will be up and running in no time.
Yeah, and we're not saying you have to bribe anyone to do it either.
Right.
Cyberbeast on TikTok has come back to us and with a laughing emoji. He says, I have 2 Fisker commas, one since 2012 and one that has 96,000 miles and another with 70,000 miles. He says, I love them.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Even the car that was reviewed, the interior, it's a personal taste thing. I understand that. Maybe he didn't like it, but when he showed the roof, it was a solar panel roof. I mean, that's pretty darn cool,
It definitely is. And, the worst part of his review was all software based.
Yeah.
He felt like the car was the worst and the most quirky and stuff because of the software. And yet you said it. Fisker's already announced they're going to be coming out with a version 2.0 of the software.
Yep. Guys, this is the end of our EV podcast. In about 5 minutes, we're going to be live again for the Tesla Roadster podcast. So again, same platform, different thumbnail. Join us. We're going to go another hour or more talking about the Tesla Roadster issues. And if there's an occasional EV question thrown in there, that's okay too. Thanks for joining us.
Take care.